Welcome back to the Against All Odds, the Less Than 1% Chance podcast with your host, Maria Ponte, where we will hear stories of incredible people thriving against all odds. And my hope is that we can all see how life is always happening for us, even when we are the less than 1% chance. Hey, welcome back to Against All Odds, the Less Than 1% Chance podcast with your host, Maria Aponte. I am so excited to have you back today for today's guest. Her name is Mia Dins. She is a soul-led entrepreneur, intuitive medium, and former elite boxer turned multidimensional guide through her signature quantum embodiment work. Mia bridges body and spirit, helping people access the wisdom stored in their cells, ancestry, and soul. Once driven to push through pain, she discovered that the body isn't a battlefield, which we all need to understand. It's a teacher. It holds the codes for healing, truth, and expansion. Now, as a sacred disruptor, Mia is forging a new path by embodying transformation herself and activating the highest potential in others through energy activations, Akashic Records work, and deeply embodied guidance. She supports people in aligning with their highest expression and living fully soul-led lives. She is also the host of Din's Talk, Let's Talk Soul, a raw, real, high-frequency space where mystic wisdom meets bold action. Please welcome Mia Dins.
Wow, what an introduction. Thank you. I know we talked about it, but it's always interesting to hear that, right? Because I'm sitting every night and reading that myself, but it's also beautiful because it reminds you of the things you do, because when you do it, you're just in it and then you forget, but then you can actually step back and look at it from the outside, just like when...
Yeah, from an outer perspective.
Yeah, and it's actually, it's beautiful. Yeah, you stumbled across Akashic Records. I just want to say to people who have never heard about that, basically they are your soul records, right?
Yes.
Like a big library that you can imagine in the ether, and that contains all the memories, all your thoughts, everything about your past lives, current lives, and future lives, if you, of course, believe in that. So that's how
I love it. I've actually done a session with a lady as well, and it was so powerful. It's so powerful. I told you before we started recording, I'm so open to however spirit God guides me to, or who it guides me to, because I feel like it always just brings something I need, so something my soul needs. So I'm so excited to talk about all of that with you. So give us a little bit of background. What is your Against All Odds story? Because let me tell you, right now she is in one place, but she has been in so many other places. Give us some background of your story.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's interesting because I had to ask myself, because I have been living my life, right? And then when you process a lot and you move through things, you actually forget all the things you have overcome. And we spoke before, that reminded me of a lot of things. And also when I read a little bit about you before. First and foremost, I was actually rejected before I was even born, like a little bit of like different story to yours, because I was meant to be an abortion because nobody really wanted me. I was basically too much. And it's a huge imprint as well that I bring in my energetic field all the time. Just bringing that up. Obviously, I made it. Otherwise,
You're here.
And so I grew up in a bigger family in a very small village in Germany, East Germany. Basically, when I say small village, you can imagine like 80 people, one street, 10 houses, 500 cows.
Oh my gosh.
And I grew up in domestic violence. I got sexually abused, and these things just happen. When I say and talk about it like this, not, and it sounds neutral, just because it is the story, but it doesn't define it anymore. Of course, it brought me all the blessings, all the learnings. But of course, looking at all that, and then bullying, always being the family that is people gossip about, and all these things. So then you look at coming from a small place like that, and then making this big move. When I was 25, I actually went to New Zealand. I only had a couple of $100, to be honest. I just finished my studies. I studied sports science. Yes, I was always very much interested in sports. And even throughout my active athlete time, I'm still an athlete, but at that stage, I was never being the one like, oh, she's going to make it. And then all of a sudden I would come out of nowhere, right? The kind of the underdog. And basically when I moved to New Zealand completely on my own, I didn't planned to move. I was just meant to go for 7 months. But my soul was like, yay,
This is what I need.
and I have always had this kind of gypsy gene since I'm little, actually. I always wanted to stay with friends. Yeah. When I was 4 or 5, I never wanted to go home. I always wanted to just be. And so I started to trust more my intuition. That all got more activated in New Zealand because it is a beautiful country, has a high frequency energy, and I just needed to be there for that time. And I also started boxing in New Zealand and found me. And I started boxing when I was 30. I'm now 38. You've written off.
Oh my gosh.
Like you're written off already, right? Because most people would stop boxing. I was doing the amateur, like the Olympic path, where tournaments and stuff. So not the professional boxing, it's different. And I thrive in that energy when you're written off, because that's when I know some people or most people probably be like stopping there, but I'm like, now I'm activated. Now my fire starts to burn. I need to
watch
go.
me.
Watch me. Not so much. Of course, sometimes from the ego place it came as well, but more about who do I need to become? What is this? What is this version of me doing?
And watch me grow. I'm going to grow and I'm going to make it.
Defy the odds, push my limits in a way. And of course, also throughout that journey. And I made it very far. Like I actually ended up representing New Zealand against Australia.
Oh my gosh.
Which is incredible. And it just happened, right? When I say it just happened, it was like 7 years of consistency, dedication, devotion, and belief. And my gosh, I basically had breakdowns every day. I had to challenge my ego. Everything had to die, the ego death, things I had to let go of, and the shedding, and to continuously be like, to feel into that vision and because I got guided to it. I never searched for it. And boxing for me was so much more than just the sport. It is so much more. It was an accelerator for my awakening, because I started to be in this flow state because you have to be completely focused. And that's when I was so available to all these energies. And then my papa I channeled, because I lost him, unfortunately, when I was 13. He died early, and all these things. So it was amazing. And also, of course, overcoming several ailments, just like I think I did not have cervical cancer, but I had the precancer cells, which, and they told me you have to have the operation to cut out the pieces, because otherwise it's going to develop.
I had that 3 times, that surgery. So I know.
And I go into that story now, if you don't mind, because it happened after COVID. I think it was 2021, 2022. Because we go to the swabs and things like that, and they told me, oh, it's abnormal, let's put you to the, what is it called?
A biopsy?
Like it's essentially a biopsy that they take from the cell, right? It's super uncomfortable. Honestly, I can take a lot of pain, but this is a very uncomfortable pain. I just don't like it. Anyways, I went there, they took that, and then it came back, and basically it showed the results. And at that time, I was already like doing, I'm very nichey. I'm raw vegan. I do all these things that normal people don't do. I would always get out of the system. Just my soul guides me to do that. And I was doing major healing work at that time as well. And the doctor, she was like, really, this energy, when you're also in the hospital, you're in this environment, I could feel like my whole energy system got sucked into this fear and this fear mongering, and I have to do that. And so she gave me all the prospects and information, when to schedule the surgery, how much recovery time. In my mind, it was like, I need to train. I'm preparing for competitions. Finally, COVID is over. I can fight because I didn't get vaccinated, right? So I have some other plans here. I just didn't allow that. And call me stubborn. And I wasn't trying to play God. I also took it very seriously. But I said, no, don't make a decision right then and there. I said to her, with all due my respect, I can see the results. You're the doctor, you're the expert in that field, but give me 6 months and I will show you that my body's able to heal itself. I don't even know where this came from. I have no idea, but I was so certain about that. And she said, but in 6 months, it can be all too late. Then we have to completely take everything out. You will never be able to conceive children, right? I would want to have children, right? And that was a little like, but I'm like, 6 months. If then the results are still the same, I'm going to do the operation. And she was like, of course, not happy with that. But I walked out of there. I'm like, what did I just do? What I decided then, I do not tell many people, because I knew the more people I tell, they will put on their projections, their fears,
Yeah.
and that completely alter my energetic field. And I only, of course, my partner at the time, I told him, my best friend, my mom, that's it. Nobody else, not my coaches, not my trainer, nobody knew about it. And I just went on and did my meditations, my healings, did everything I could do, did train at that
Yeah.
time, boxing. And the only thing I did change at that time was because I still had 1 cup of black coffee in the morning. And with the nutritionist I was working at that time, he was saying, okay, that is just bringing your hormones out of balance and things like that. It's these kind of things. And since I'm very sensitive to energies and my body responds very quickly,
Yeah.
I thought, okay, a weave off. That's the one thing I did. I did it in December 2021. Yeah, I remember that's it. And yeah, 6 months later, I went and it was gone. She
Yeah.
said she has never seen that. She couldn't believe it. And I had follow-up appointments, I think 3 months later, another one
Yeah.
3 months later, because they wanted to make sure. And boom, it happened. Did I have fears in between? Sure. Did I
Yeah.
doubt it? Of course. And I did take action. I contacted one of my best friends or school friends in Germany because she was as a nurse for a gynecologist. And I asked her, tell me, did you have experiences like that? And what are the stats? Yeah, I did that
Yeah,
part
you
too.
did your research. Yeah, because
So
it's
I wasn't
you have to
completely,
balance both.
yeah, absolutely. But my belief was so strong, and my body told me to not do it and to go this way. That was my story. I do get it. Yours was
Yeah.
probably like some people have to do the operation because that's just,
My first found out, so I was sexually assaulted at 16 and I didn't say anything to anybody. I stayed quiet. And when I was 18, that I could go to the doctor by myself, I did my first well woman checkup and it came back with abnormal cells. They did the biopsy and I ended up with, it was like at stage 4 in that section of my cervix. And so we did what they call a leap, and it was, they cut like that section that was affected off my cervix, they cut that off. But nobody understood why I was dealing with this. I didn't have family history. That the HPV virus was not commonly known 20 plus years ago, as it wasn't like they didn't understand that necessarily caused cancer. Like it wasn't a well-known situation. Now my kids have vaccines for it because I don't want them to go through what I did. So there was that. So when I was 18, nobody knew. I stayed quiet. At 19, I went 6 months later after that surgery, all good. 6 months after that, it came back. And the doctor's like, it came back. Also, the likelihood of you being able to get pregnant, you're probably not going to be able to have kids. I was 19 years old. I wanted to have kids. I was newly engaged. Like all of these things were happening and still nobody knew. And so I did the second surgery. And so I was going to cosmetology school at the time and I had the surgery and I didn't go back to school for 2 months. And the director calls me and she's like, Maria, I'm going to have to drop you from the course because you're not coming to school and your dad's paying this every single month. And I don't feel like that's ethical. And I'm like, oh my gosh, wait, don't do anything yet. Can I go in and talk to you? And I don't know what came over me because for 3 years I stayed quiet. Nobody knew anything. The guy had put something in my drink and he was 26 years old. I was 16. Like it was just not a situation where I felt shameful and guilty and all the things. Like what did I do was my thought process. So I
mm,
was internalizing all of this dis-ease. So my body created disease. It was
mm,
telling me, hey, wake up because you need to do something. And so I went to visit with her and I remember closing the door, sitting down and just like crying. And for the first time in 3 years, I told her everything. And I was like spitting everything out. I didn't even want to look at her. I didn't want to, I just wanted it all out.
And when I look up and my eyes are all watery and crying and so forth, I look up, she's crying, and I'm like, Miss Baker, why are you crying? And she's like, oh, Maria, a few years ago, I was called after my daughter went to a party and some guys sexually assaulted her by putting something in her drink, and they left her by a dumpster. So I got my daughter therapy and all the help that she needed, and maybe you were just meant to come to me. And so she was my little angel on the way. And so she was like, you need to start coming back to school. So I did. And she then tells me, however, there is this place I live in Orlando, Florida. So there's this place in downtown Orlando that specializes in therapy for sexual assault victims. And I was like, I've never been to therapy. I can't afford it. And she's like, no, no, no. Like, I'll make sure that you have the hour away from school, but you need to go. And that's when I started to open up about my story. The doctor, when he told me that I wasn't going to be able to have kids, I was like, no, 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 because I know that I'm meant to be a mom. That's not going to be the case. So I didn't tell anybody anything because, again, I'm from a Hispanic household, very Catholic, and so the guilt and the shame and all of the things came along with it, and we don't talk about things like that. And I knew that once I went through the therapy process, that I was able to start talking about it. My thought process on the guilt and the shame went away because I understood that I wasn't at fault. And so I knew that when my parents found out, that they were going to make it like if it was my fault or give off that kind of reaction. And that's how it happened. And I ended up getting married quickly, moving in with my then fiance and then like husband 2 months after. So everything happened really quick. And then I started fertility treatment. And I finally, like a year and a half later, got pregnant. So there was this whole journey, but I learned because the cancer came back when I was 32 twice that year. And I learned again that I was holding on to a lot of dis-ease in my body, and it started to create this disease again. And that's when I started working out, eating right, listening to personal development, opening up myself spiritually, allowing things to just be different and healing myself in a way that I didn't think was possible. And the second time it came back that year, I scheduled the hysterectomy. So I had a full hysterectomy at 32. And when I went, and that was like maybe a month and a half after I started to like just take care of myself, put on my oxygen mask on first. And when I got to the surgery. So I found out October 15th. The surgery was scheduled for December 9th. A week later, when you get the results, you follow up with the doctor, get the results from the pathology and everything. He sits me down, and this was actually on my birthday. So December 16th, he sat me down and he's like, Maria, I don't understand. There was 0 signs of cancer in your pathology report. And I was like, what? So the healing process for myself, learning that I needed to start taking care of myself, listening to my inner healing, I guess, listening to my body and knowing that I needed to do something because if not, my kids were going to be left without a mom. Like, it was just all of this then started the ball rolling with my own like internal healing. And yeah, the cancer had gone away before I even needed to actually have surgery.
Yeah, wow, it's a very powerful story. So thank you for sharing this. And it's interesting how it's your womb space, of course, right? And you also, because the way you entered this world, right? Your
Yeah.
mom always tried to through the like obviously you were holding on, and because I look at the ancestral stuff as well, so now there's something to look into, maybe probably have done it or you may do it in the future, to look at the lineage of your mother's lineage, the female, like what are they holding on, because the womb space is very powerful. I work a lot with that, with my womb space and with the healing, and especially right now. And it holds on a lot. It's such a powerhouse. It sponges so much energy, emotions, but it's also able to alchemize and transmute it. And that's why, for example, women, when you feel like constantly bloated, or you feel like you have this little extra layer of like body fat over there, it's more like protection. Yes, of course, these things like movement, the way you eat, sleep, these all play a key part. But most of the time, and I can vouch for it, because I even have it. When I say I even have it, I work out, I do all that, and because I know my womb space is still holding on to trauma, old imprints. And it's really a challenge for me to have compassion sometimes still, because I'm like, go work out. Then the whole self-sabotaging voice comes in, like, go harder, don't eat these, don't eat that, because I also have a history of eating disorder, like a disordered body image. So for me, it's really to go deeper into compassion, to hold space for my body right now and appreciate it for, oh my gosh, you're doing such amazing work and you're giving me signs, you are guiding me. I've learned that, and that's a beautiful alignment with your story as well. And I'm sure a lot of your listeners can relate to that. Like I said in the introduction, it's not a battlefield. For me, at least, I always thought as a battlefield when something was going wrong. Why are you doing this to me? Why aren't you functioning? Why are you tired now? Why is this achy? Why am I bloated? Why am I gaining weight? Why is the period not coming? Whatsoever. We're constantly complaining. But then I learned to rewrite that story, and I'm still recoding and doing all that. It's my curriculum, it's my teacher, it's my oracle, tells me where I'm at and what it truly needs, because it's like the soul is speaking through our body. The soul talks to us way before that, but because we are so wired to the 3D, we only start taking action when something is wrong in our body, right? When we start to have this back pain, oh, what have I done? Shit, what do I need to do? I need to stretch more, move, whatever it is, right? It's just an example. And that's what I learned through my story. And everybody, of course, will experience it very differently. And like I said already before, like you have to have this consciousness to do that. If you don't have this consciousness, like for example, my mom has a lot of illnesses and ailments and things like that. I can tell her everything I have done. I can see how she could heal instantly. I can see it, but all I can do is to hold space for her to be and to evolve in her own unique way. And that's so hard, isn't it? Because when you love someone and you're so scared to lose them, I was trying to interfere before and doing things and trying to push on things. And then I realized I can't do anything other than being the best version of myself, doing all the healing and
the example.
Space. And that's hard. It's very hard.
It is so hard. I know so much. I really became very passionate about, I did a weight loss journey. I had lost like 40 pounds and I was the fittest I was ever in my entire life. And I felt proud. I felt like I got through so much. And then at the same time, there was so much, like my dad got sick and I was his caretaker. My mom worked still and I worked from home. I had my own business online and all the things. So my job became to take care of my dad. And that's when my body was like, oh no, we're going to start holding on to things again. And I felt it. My hormone, well, I'm also postmenopausal. So there's a lot less like regular hormones even happening in my body. But as I'm feeling the stress of my dad like sick and making sure that he's okay and everything is being taken care of and he goes to his appointments and all this stuff, my body started to say, okay, no, we're going to start holding on to things again. And so I gained all the way back plus some. And after years, I've been on this health journey for like 10 years, that now I'm like, okay, now I have to go back and understand that my body was just not very happy with me because my priority stopped being myself. Like the oxygen mask on first. And I would still do the same things that I was doing. And I was beating myself up because I was like, how is it that I'm doing all these things that I know work because they've worked before and I'm still gaining weight? And so I know that there's a lot of grief that's still attached. There's a lot of things that my body is still doing that I'm inching my way back to that feeling just amazing in my body. Whereas I know what it could feel like. Not even look. If I don't look like I did at 35, great. But I want to feel that way in my body again because my soul felt at ease and it felt so aligned in that moment. And then after, it's been like this. The last like 3 years, it's been like crazy. So it's crazy. What You're correct. Your body is literally telling you, hey, hi, what's up, I'm here. And you just brush it off and it's like, no, but I'm here. I need you to take care of me in a different way. Do something. And we just continue to brush it off. And then when we're feeling the back pain and we're seeing the weight gain and we're experiencing all these things, then we're like, what is happening?
Yeah. And then we come back into this penetrating masculine energy and we're trying to force things and be really harsh and do that because that's what we get taught and that's what is also displayed everywhere.
Yeah.
And the question is like when you had this success and you had, like you said it perfectly, the method worked then and all of a sudden it didn't work. It's always, I think someone said, I can't remember who said it once, one of my mentors, like all the marketing works and it doesn't work. Because if you're on the frequency, you can do everything you want to, it will never work. But in the frequency, everything will work if you do the minimal or the whatever. And that's so true for the body as well. And I know it can be hard. It can be frustrating when you don't see the tangible results. And especially when you are maybe a little bit more vain or you just love to have a certain body, that's totally fine. If you desire, I do. That's just how I feel good. And I'm not in a, like, it's just how I feel good because I'm an athlete. To be able to move and to be fit and things
I was able to do like push-ups, like real push-ups, and now I'm like, oh no, not, like even on the knees I'm like struggling, and I'm like, I had muscle, I could see muscle, I could feel muscle, I felt strong. And for the first time in my entire life, because I wasn't allowed to be in sports very much because I worked with my dad, we had our own business, so it was just like I couldn't do the after school sports because I was always busy working and so forth. It just like felt like, oh my gosh, I have never felt this strong, and I've already overcome so many things. I feel like it was the first time that my body was aligned with the strength of my soul. I don't know if that makes any sense, but my body looked like my soul felt. And I think that's what I am missing right now, because I know innately I am strong, I'm powerful. I know that my soul is that, and my body doesn't feel that way, and it feels unaligned.
But that's where most people are, and it's not, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just being honest with it. It's almost like you have a 1 liter like bottle and you want to try to fill in the entire ocean, and that's impossible. Like our vessel, right? It's our vessel it's our avatar that we got given. We only have this one avatar. Our soul is eternal, of course, but only this one avatar in this lifetime, so far as I'm aware of. If there are any other cases, please let me know.
Please advise.
And it's not about being like fearful of that, but actually learning to really treasure it and knowing that if you want to do all these things, like you want to be giving this amazing frequency energy here in this podcast, you need to have a strong vessel to be able to do that. I couldn't do all the channeling work and everything I do if I don't have a strong body to hold this capacity and to be able to alchemize that. And on top, I'm having a very energetic, very sensitive energy body. If you see me, what I'm doing, it is just for me to function. I'm not talking about the add-ons yet. It's just to function, to be able to do that. And I love doing it. It's all an embodiment. I used to at the beginning, I think still following the traditional way, and had like doing unlearning. It was all separation. Oh, I do some yoga here, I do some workout here, but now it's all one. Like my workout becomes a prayer. I tune into my body. I'm like, oh, okay, you're feeling some pain there, okay, what's going on? Or it's like a moving prayer, meditation, whatever you want to call it. But of course it takes practice. There is no separation for and to anything for me anymore. It's just like all one, because we are multidimensional beings, and that every little thing, every thought, everything we do and we don't do, and it's not about putting pressure on here, it's just about being aware, has a ripple effect on everything in life. I'm like the way you start your day, the way you make your bed, you dress, you start talking to your body, right? Isn't it interesting how we actually, well, I can only tell from my experience, like in the morning already, I start being negative. Oh, you look tired. Oh, what's going on here? Oh my gosh, how do you look? Like, let's do the real shit talk here, right?
Yeah, seriously.
What's going on in the head is like, oh man, I look not great, or I look fat, or I do this, whatever is going on. And this is having a ripple effect. And that's happening subconsciously. Yeah, I consciously choose to love myself, to have compassion, but there's still a lot of stuff going on in the background that I allow to come through, and to be honest with myself and be okay, right? To let it come through. I think that's, we talked about it offline before, about this bypassing, this toxic positivity, and being aware of that, because I spent a lot of time in solitude the past 2 years, because like when I left New Zealand in April 2024, I intended to go back to Germany and be with my family. That didn't happen how it's meant to be. So I booked within 24 hours a flight to Spain without having actually the money. Like it was, I had 300 euros or something. And then I had my year in Spain, right? And it was a lot of, no, it was a lot of, that's my against the odds kind of mentality as well. And I'm not saying everybody has to do it that way, but it's interesting because I was trying to be involved with people. I was looking, okay, and wanted to get back to boxing, but God draw me in. God put me into places where I was completely off grid, in the mountains, in a little tiny mini home in the forest, all these things, which was amazing, right? And I just need to strip off everything, and I cannot be more grateful for this experience, as hard as it was. And I crawled on my knees so many times, because being alone, not having the financial support, like in a country where I don't speak the language, not knowing anything really, and I let go of everything that was familiar to me. Like New Zealand, there was my people, my boxing community, the work that I did, and everything that was familiar to me, boom, stripped off. But my soul thrives on that. My ego does not like it, but my soul loves that. It loves it, and I had to learn to ride that wave with it and to embrace it. And that's when you go into solitude, you start to really see what's really beneath it. I call it, because I love nature so much, it's the soil. Look at the soil you want to plant in, right? Look, we can all plant, have these desires and put it all in. And I used to do it all the time, and more, and I want this and that, and that's all beautiful. But let's look at the soil first, because if that's full of shit, no matter how beautiful the seed is you plant, the flower, whatever your metaphor in the mind, what helps you to visualize that, it will take on that shit too, and it will grow more shit. It's just, let's put it bluntly like that. I don't even need to put any like nice words with that. It's true. And what I mean by that is like, look at your belief systems, your habits, that the people you are surrounded by. And if you, of course, I'm not surrounded physically by people. For me, it's online. And even it goes so far, like look at your social media platform. Who are you following? What is going on there? I have done a massive decluttering there, and it comes from a place of love, like being like, is it actually benefiting me? Like this person, cool, I like them as a person, but do they benefit me if they show up on my, what's it called, like this
newsfeed?
And I'm like, no, it doesn't. Okay, let it go. But let it go with love. There's nothing, it's not personal. Just like I had to really narrow everything down. And I could see like how much I was still allowing other people to tell me what I can do, what I cannot do. And of course, I came from a very structured life in a way. When I say like boxing, 7 years constantly training twice a day, 6 days a week, discipline. There, of course, within that, there was flow, of course. But it was very structured and very man-dominated sport, and very old school still, like the training methods. You get trained like that's where the whole thing with my body as well came in. You get trained like a man.
Yeah.
And there is no space for individual cycles. Like nobody would adjust the training according to your cycle, your period.
Yeah.
And it's so profound for us women. It is one, and not just if you're not training, but working as well, your life. We have our personal seasons. We go through summer, autumn, winter, spring,
Yeah.
and to acknowledge that. And I learned through the past year, 2 years, sorry, to really, really tune into my own individual cycle and to like really acknowledge even more so that we are cyclical beings. And the more I tuned into my own rhythm, the more I started to thrive. My energy came back and things happened. And I'm still healing a lot because I never had really periods throughout my, or very irregular and throughout my active time with boxing. So it was completely suppressed. My femininity was suppressed, right? It's the energetic component. And then I had, of course, this is still like balancing. And that's what I say. My hormones are still like, it's not like this anymore. If you imagine the big waves of the ocean, it's more like it's still balancing and regulating my nervous system. I never really regulated my nervous system. It was constantly on fight, flight mode. And not just the sports part, because I was fighting, right, actively. And you get into the fight mode, and that was beautiful. And I learned to switch off from that in some shape or form. But then I constantly was also in fight or flight mode in my life. I wasn't in the environment, that wasn't the right relationship that was supportive for me, constantly worrying about money and things like that. And wow, that was a whole like God put me into that space, universe, whatever you call it. And it literally helped me. It wasn't pretty. It was not pretty. Sometimes I journeyed, but I journeyed for 3-4 hours a day to just get up because I had nobody. I had nobody to talk to and to do anything. So I learned to really hone in on myself, that power that we all have within ourselves. And that's my main message for everybody who's listening, like this radical self-trust, and that you are your own guru. We are so quick to go to the external. Even when you have like, let's say you have an argument with your partner, you may be tempted to, I call my best friend, I want to offload. Call your best friend, go inward here first. You are your best friend. Ask God, be there. Like first do that. And then from that place, you empowered, you already have an idea, you know what's going on. Then call your best friend. Then go and talk or do whatever, but always tune in first, right? That really helped me to strengthen my foundation and to really have this innate self-trust. And that's why I'm able to do those things. Like I said, I jumped into the airplane and booked the ticket with my last couple of €100, and I know I will be fine. I'm not saying that everybody has to do it that way. And I'm not saying like I'm praying that money will fall from heaven. It may. It may.
That would be nice. It can. Yes. I'll allow it.
I'm open my bags for that. No, but what I mean by that, I have this absolute certainty and trust that I'm taken care of and that I will be guided to the action. That may look like I contact the person and they sign up for a session with me and I get exactly the money that I need, or it may do being this or that, or I apply for a job here, whatever it is, right? That's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying I'm sitting on the couch rolling my thumbs and be like, hey, and it's all coming. No, you have to take the action, but come from this empowered place, like go inward. And I don't know, it was just like this fireball that just came through, and I just wanted to share that because that's my journey, my big message out there, because we all have it, but you have to create space so you can hear, have the courage to listen, and more so trust and take the action. That's the part most people don't do. Everybody hears their voice, they just don't trust it, and then they don't act on it.
Yeah, it could be as simple as listening to that gut instinct and going with it. I use that when I'm moving anywhere. I can walk into a house or an apartment or whatever and know, like in my belly, I know that's where I need to be. Everywhere I've moved since I left my parents' house, I have innately known, oh yeah, this is it. And I've had a realtor tell me, but how you barely walked in the house. And I'm like, yep, it's it. I can tell you like in my soul, I could feel that this is it. So when you start like just listening to even the little things and you start trusting that and going with it and seeing, oh, this worked out well. It's like building that trust with, yes, like you said, your inner best friend, you. And I feel like I've had experiences that I'm just like, oh, well, look at that. Me looking out for myself, because when I feel like something feels right and you go for it, you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, this worked out. This is exactly where I need to be. And I met these people and I connected with these people, and this is exactly who I needed in my life. And I feel like even the people that I have done recordings with, I've had on my podcast, it's been so beautiful because it's always exactly what I needed to hear, or exactly who I needed to talk to, or we connected in a way that, like, who would have thought? Last week I spoke to somebody that lives like 20 minutes down the street, and I wouldn't have ever really known her. We have people that we have in common, but she gets on one of my podcast episodes and she's like, "Oh yeah, I live in Central Florida." I'm like, "Really?" Too. And she's like, "Oh," I'm like, "Where?" And she's like, "Oh, here." I'm like, "That's where I grew up." Like, how crazy. And I live 20 minutes away from you. And so it's allowing the I took like a year off of recording and putting out podcast episodes because it energetically it felt like a chore rather than the flow that I have felt over the last few weeks where I restarted the podcast again. And then you get in your head, "Oh, well, should I just like start all over?" No, I've already done 2 full seasons of the podcast. Just start now. What am I waiting for? And it felt so good. It felt different than the energy that I felt towards the end of season 2 last year. And so I was like, okay, it's time. And I've talked to people like you that I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally can feel that connection. I felt like I just needed to talk to you. And that has been so beautiful to come across these people, but it's because I trusted that now was the right time to restart it. And it was that moment that I posted about finding guests for my podcast. And it was a coincidence that you saw, a beautiful coincidence, right? That you saw the post and you filled out the form and you are on here now. Like, it feels like it was supposed to flow exactly this way. But you only learn to trust that when you give yourself those, like, listen to that little voice, and little by little you build that trust. If you don't have it, if you don't have this beautiful practice of like, let me just listen to my body, because not all of us do, when you just start listening to the little things and it starts guiding you and you're like, oh my god, this worked out awesome, then you're like, okay, I can start trusting this on a bigger scale, and it just kind of like builds from that. And I feel like you've had to trust that instinct and go to Spain or go to now Vietnam or whatever. And it's these little things that you're like, well, yeah, that I listened to my body. I listened to a dream. I listened to something was guiding me, and I listened. And that those little, every single time, it's like you continue to build that trust, and it's so beautiful.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's so powerful, firstly, that you took that break and you acknowledge that, because the mind would have been like, oh my gosh, why are you stopping?
Yeah.
And
Oh, it did.
yeah, the tug of war. It's like, the thing is, though, firstly, I wanted to acknowledge that because it's amazing. Not many people will do that. And that can be applied to anything in life, right? To your business, or maybe a hobby you pursued, or whatever. And I realized I had a lot of black and white conditioning, black and white thinking. Like, if I do stop now, I will never do it again.
Yeah.
That's not true. There's a lot of nuances in there, a lot of coloring, but I wouldn't allow that, right? And that's cool too, to see that, because that will hold us back then to take the break, because we are too scared that this will never come back. If it never comes back, then something else will emerge and blossom, but let go. And that's the hardest part. Look, I had to let go of boxing. Oh my gosh, that was such an ego death for me in that moment. I'm not sure if I will go back into the ring. There's a part of me that there's something, it doesn't feel finished, but it may not be the way I think.
Yeah.
But to let go of that, oh, that was the biggest part. I was like, it was because, as I said, it was so much more than just the sports. It was my safety net. It was my grounding, my awakening, my acceleration, my connection to source, like all of it and so much more. Right. But to really trust that. And I made it difficult for myself because I was almost like, nah, I'm hanging on a little bit here. And it was almost like I'm still hanging in between. But the moment I let go, I felt so liberated and free.
Yeah.
That was scary. But you can only learn to trust. And right, it's like with any relationship. You didn't meet your husband, you're like, oh, I trust you.
Yeah.
It was built over time. It has to be challenged as well, the trust, and tested. And then you grow deeper trust. And through that trust, you build confidence. Nothing that is given to you. It's not an attribute or like a personality trait that you have that we are born with. It's something we build. And that's why you have to practice it and also fail. I don't like the word fail, but like we said before, test yourself with little things like, and I always do that with the yes or no questions. Keep it very simple because the mind wants to analyze, the mind wants to argue, the mind wants to convince you, right? For example, let's do something very simple, like with a friend asks you out to go for a coffee and you're not quite sure. And then you really tune in and be like, does it feel right to me? Is that aligned? Yes or no? And that is very simple. And you will get a feeling, you will know what feels like a yes to you, like it will be expansive, makes you feel light, maybe you get some butterflies in the stomach, whatever. And no is usually like, oh, no. Or if you're not there yet, play a scenario, like visualize or actually do it, get ready to go. And how do you feel when you get ready? Do you feel like excited? Then go. Do you feel like trained, like, oh my gosh, like a chore? Then don't go and trust that. And it's nothing personal. It's not like you don't want to see your friend, but today might not be the day because you may need rest. Or there's a pause created for you that you will receive a download about something, about your business, your children, a challenge you had. And all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I never looked at that. I had that many times that sometimes I got guided to go maybe for, let's say, going later to the gym, and because I was so conditioned to go at certain times and train. And then the more I started to relax there, and I would go that day later instead of the morning, maybe the afternoon, which is very unusual for me or weird because I was so like,
regimented
in that way, in this particular way. But when I allowed that, things were flowing through me. I got a business idea, I connected with a person, or I did that, or I had a huge breakthrough in my own healing, right? Because I was giving this pause. I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. And sorry, I was so fucking stubborn.
Yeah, exactly.
That's beautiful too. And I have done the opposite too. I would go then still and then I would maybe little injure myself, or the workout wouldn't be great, or I would maybe bump into a person or something along the way. It would just not be fun. And that's how I learned. And that's how everybody can start and learn. And now usually people ask, so what is the soul? What is the mind? And how it usually appears to be for most people based on my own experience and the people I've worked with is that your intuition is first when you don't tune in often. It's a whisper. It's very, very subtle, like this 1 or 2 seconds. Go left. You almost don't hear it. And the mind is very loud, and it's very mean. The mind is mean. It gets very mean. It's a meanie. And also it gives ultimatums. Like I said before, it does have this black and white thinking. It can be like, if you don't do it now, you will never be good enough, or you will never do it, or you will miss out. You will never get this chance. Not true. It's absolutely not true. This is how people who are listening, that you can start tuning in and maybe learn to discern more, and then like play around with little things, like even with the clothing you want to put on. Go with your intuition, not with the mind, like, oh, I should wear black or purple today or whatever. Just go with your feeling. Or when you go for a walk, like, don't plan it. Just let your soul guide you and be open to whatever appears. And it's a beautiful journey because you free up energy, because the mind takes a lot of energy, because it's constantly in resistance to the flow of life, because it tries to constantly keep you safe, and constantly contemplating, constantly being in the mind is draining, is exhausting, isn't it?
It's so exhausting. Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like that's where, so at the end of last season, editing the podcast was, I felt like it was so tedious and it took so long. And I'm now, and I would only post like, I would upload once a week. I'm currently uploading twice a week and it feels fun and it feels like, oh my God, this conversation was so good. I can't wait to like do all the things. And it's just such a different energy that I'm so excited because, again, how else would I have met you? It feels aligned. It feels like I've met the people that I needed to. The first guest that I had this season, he was an author that his memoir was coming out like the following week. And it was like a Tuesday that I recorded, and something told me, get it out by Friday. And not the week after, not the Friday after his book comes out. Get it out before, and then download his book and listen to it. Oh my God, it was exactly what I needed. It was beautiful. I laughed, I cried. He doesn't understand how much he's touched my life because of a situation that I'm dealing with, someone in my life. And I'm like, how would I have ever met this person if I wouldn't have been like, all right, it's time to start again, and felt good, and like it flowed so beautifully that it doesn't feel like a chore. And it did last year. So I'm like, it's the same exact process. I have a process on how I edit and how I post and how, like, all I had a process. It's exactly the same and it feels so different. And it just feels more aligned right now. And I'm just like, okay, then this is what needed to happen.
And that's beautiful. And then when we are in the flow, things just come. They just come. And then you take a line of action. That is what I used to misunderstand as well about flow, right? I had this misperception about flow. I just go with the flow. But it is actually, you get so much more done. You're so much more productive because your time is so intentional as well. And like you said, you just get it out. I'm doing the same. I had a time in August, and it's only my first year of podcasting. So my first year completed December.
Yay!
And I had to take off for a month or 5 weeks. I didn't post because I had a massive healing that I needed to do for myself, and a break that I needed because my body was asking me for it, and everything was just a chore. And at that moment I was like, you can't do this. And I felt like I'm failing the people because I interviewed most of my people in July, and then I would schedule it. I did it a little bit different, and that's cool too. You learn the way along you go on. And it was really trusting that. And then when I got out of my little cove, it just flowed. It was fun. And I couldn't wait to edit things. And every conversation would spark up something in me again. And it was just like that. And well, why would we do something from a scarcity? Because we transfer that energy, no matter how good your content is, or your post, or how creative you are, or you edited amazing, but the energy that you posted with, that is behind that or throughout this process, will be felt by the audience. Because oh my gosh, I looked at people. Sometimes people, like, you can compare the ones who don't, like, let's say they have a very generic, very simple post. They don't do any editing, and it's not even great background. They actually do against everything, the light, whatever, but they have millions of people watching it because of the energy. And then you have people who, like, it's all petite, it's all like everything is done like 100%, like on spot, best marketing and this, and they have only a few. And it's not about the followers. I'm just like, I take
but it's a good comparison or
example of how energy works, how it responds to your frequency, right? And that's again, like, it's so powerful to be aware of that. And that is how powerful we are, because when it works with the scarcity, when it works with the things that don't align, when it works with this diseases, right, and all the ailments and everything that's not going well, how about we turn it around and make it work for ourselves? And so actually, like, create the miracles and all these beautiful things.
I love that. Oh my gosh, this has been, I have a whole bunch of questions that I haven't even touched because this conversation has been so good. So good. So just give me, and I think we've talked about it, but just so that we get an idea, if there's anything else, like, what limiting beliefs or roadblocks do you feel you had to overcome to get to where you are today?
Oh, there are many, but I guess that I'm not good enough or that I'm too much is one big one. And that came pre-birth with that energy. And that, yeah, that was a big thing because that ties into everything out and worthiness. That I'm not worthy to receive the abundance, the love. And that was one thing. And for me, love was tied to performance. I have to perform, I have to do something in order to be loved. And I also mixed up attention as love. I think that's these big untangling. Like if I get attention or like a praise, that's not love. It's just it's an attention. It's just like someone who gives me attention. And the biggest thing about money I'm in the midst of unconditioning that, but it's tied, of course, to self-worth, right? To that I'm worthy of that. I used to think that only certain people are able to be millionaires or rich or wealthy, whatever your definition is. And that's not true. But that's how I was conditioned and the way I grew up, because my family was constantly put down and they're the odd ones. They have no money, not the best clothing. They live like whatever, gypsies kind of thing. And I think these were roadblocks, and that you can absolutely do anything you believe in. It's really up to you. If you believe it, that's all that matters. No matter if somebody else believes in you or not, it's none of your business. And I think that was, these were the biggest challenges and roadblocks they are coming up right now.
That's perfect, because that's exactly what we need to hear. Do you have any daily habits that help you get to where you are?
Oh, absolutely. I start my day with tuning in, like tune into my soul. And that there are various ways. I don't have a discipline. It's like someone else says, like blisscipline. I love that. It's like a flow. I tune in, and then I definitely do breath work. Breath work is magical for me, and meditation. So that's like a flow, and I connect to nature. Very important. Do yoga, movement. I need to move. Daily workout. And I have a conversation with myself and God first in the morning. I don't touch my phone until later, like could be anytime 11, 12, like this kind of thing, where I literally go where I'm tapping into the energy field of other people. I do things before I download, I create, I get downloads about what I'm posting or not, whatever it is, and to be really diligent with that and set your boundaries. Once you have made boundaries, for example, for me, it's like Sunday is my like nothing. There's no plan. It could I could end up working that day because I feel guided to, like, work in the sense of like I would be writing whatever, but I do let go of everything. And it also means to not make yourself available for your loved ones, or for be really diligent with that, because that's also how you build trust and confidence in yourself, because you learn to trust yourself, and once you do that, then you can trust others. But honestly, do the things that light you up, like literally do the things that light me up, to fill my cup first. And once it's filled up and overflowing, I give from that space and not from an empty cup. It's impossible to give.
I learned that the hard way. So yes, I definitely agree. I love all of it. Oh my gosh, Mia, this was amazing. Thank you so much. And I will put all of your information on how people can connect with you in the show notes. So thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It was amazing talking to you. I love that. I feel like I have talked with my best friend.
I know, for like ever. I love it so much.
I feel like we were recording or anything. So I hope that, whatever is coming through as a transmission will be received by whoever's listening. And I just wish everybody who's listening the most amazing life, and just be you, be authentic. That's what we came here for. And we need your beautiful, unique energy. So thank you.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Listeners, I hope you got as much from today's episode as I did. I loved having this conversation with Mia. And as always, everything will be in the show notes. So please pay attention to that so you can connect with her. And thank you so much for listening today. Peace out, guys. Love your life. Bye.